President Harry Truman once remarked, "Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude. America will never forget their sacrifices." We understand this well in the town of Cohasset. Our Memorial Day observance and healing field are major events on the town's calendar every year. They showcase not only our love and respect for our veterans, but also the natural beauty of our town and the character of our residents. 2020 will be no different. The history of the Cohasset veteran is an impressive one. From the town's formation in 1770 to the present day, there has always been a willingness to serve. When the flames of the Revolution began to burn at the Boston Tea Party, 3 Cohasset residents were there to tell the Crown in no uncertain terms that taxation without representation would not be tolerated. The Cohasset militia marched to Dorchester Heights to help surround the British and guarded the southern approach to Boston Harbor from the current site of Fort Revere in Hull. Other Cohasset residents joined the regular Army and Navy, following General George Washington from the formation of the Continental Army in Cambridge to the surrender of the British at Yorktown. When the British fleet reappeared off the Cohasset coast during the War of 1812, our militia once again mobilized and took up defensive positions at Whitehead, Sandy Cove, and Bassings Beach to keep our harbor and town safe from invasion. The war between the states was our nation's deadliest conflict, and Cohasset's veterans were not spared from its impact. Over 150 young men would march into battle for the Union, with 13 never returning. They held every rank from private to general, and one resident, Levi Gaylord, was the recipient of our nation's highest honor for valor in combat, the Congressional Medal of Honor. War raged on the European continent for over 3 years before the United States joined the fray in World War I. Cohasset prepared to bear arms like the rest of the nation, and by the summer of 1918, our veterans were in France, ready to play a critical role in the war to end all wars. When the Germans broke through the French lines and closed within 30 miles of Paris, our veterans were there to stop the advance at places like Château-Thierry, Saint-Mihiel, and Belleau Wood. Sergeant George H. Mealy would be the first Cohasset resident to fall, and in his honor, our American Legion post bears his name. We participated in the Allies' 100-day offensive and pushed the Germans back to the Hindenburg Line, ensuring that peace would come on the 11th hour of the 11th day in the 11th month. World War II brought our fathers and grandfathers to the forefront, our greatest generation. They were children of the Depression and no strangers to hardship. They fought and won in 2 different theaters. Some were deployed overseas for close to 3 years without the opportunity to come home. Some never came home at all. They were soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, and merchant mariners. Over 500 Cohasset residents answered the call to duty. When they returned victorious, they drove the greatest social and economic change our country has ever seen. They raised families, started businesses, built schools and churches, and served in civic leadership positions. They altered the landscape in Cohasset forever. They will always be remembered as our greatest generation. From the ashes of World War II, communism took hold in places like the Soviet Union, China, and Southeast Asia. This would pose the next threat to the Cohasset veteran when in 1950, communist North Korean forces invaded South Korea. Cohasset veterans were present when the North Korean advance was stopped at the Pusan perimeter. They landed at Incheon, pushed the North Koreans back to the Yalu River, absorbed the brunt of the Chinese invasion, showed heroism at the Chosin Reservoir, and battled in the Bloody Hill campaigns around the 38th parallel. Called by many the Forgotten War, Korea and its veterans are not forgotten in Cohasset.
Every time I look at you, something is on my mind. If you do what I want you to, maybe we'd be so fine. Oh, life could be a dream. Shaboom, if I could take you up in paradise up above.
Vietnam brought the brutality of war into our living rooms with live footage and real-time stories from embedded reporters. The resulting public outcry and political posturing overshadowed the character of our Vietnam veterans. Most came from families where their fathers had served in World War II and their grandfathers in World War I. The question of them stepping forward to serve their country was not why, it was more when and where. Cohasset's Vietnam veterans distinguished themselves in every campaign throughout the war, and the town suffered greatly. Class of 1968 graduate Tom Keating said it best last year with his words, "Few small towns in Cohasset have sacrificed as much in war as Cohasset, most particularly 50 years ago. There are 8 names of Cohasset men on the Vietnam Wall, the last 5 within weeks of each other during the summer and fall of 1969. These were some of Cohasset's finest young men. They were high school athletes, Eagle Scouts, rock musicians, and Little League coaches. Great kids with bright futures who sacrificed all." While the face of the enemy and complexion of the battlefield have changed greatly in recent history, the willingness of the Cohasset veteran to serve has not. From the Persian Gulf to peacekeeping and humanitarian operations to the ongoing war on terror, the history of the Cohasset veteran is still unfolding.
From my head down to my boots, I don't do it for the money. There's bills that I can't pay. I don't do it for the glory. I just do it anyway. Providing for our futures, my responsibility. Yeah, I'm real good under pressure, being all that I can be. I can't call in sick on Mondays when the weekend's been too strong. I just work straight through the holidays, sometimes all night long. You can bet that I stand ready when the wolf growls at the door. Hey, I'm solid, hey, I'm steady, hey, I'm true down to the core. And I will always do my duty, no matter what the price.
Circumstances might prevent us from gathering, but it cannot deter our spirit. Cohasset's Memorial Day and Healing Field tradition will continue. In all, 38 Cohasset residents have given their lives in the service of their country. General George S. Patton once said, "It is foolish and wrong to mourn the men who died. Rather, we should thank God such men lived." So as you travel our beautiful town and see a memorial or a flag flying by a headstone, stop and take a moment to read the name. It's the name of a veteran, and every veteran has a story to tell.
Somebody said, you don't know what you got till you leave it behind. And when I come home to my hometown of Cohasset, I realize that whoever said that was right. Whether it's a beautiful coastline, whether it's the beach, whether it's minus light, whether it's just the hometown atmosphere and the people, I realized that places like Cohasset and places all around the United States are worth it. You know, they're worth defending. I've been at this now for 33 years or so, and every time that I'm posted somewhere away from my friends, away from my family, far from Cohasset, I realize that it is worth it, that it is worth defending. And the way we were brought up in believing in our free will, believing in family, believing in our right to express ourselves or to protest or to be patriots or to speak our mind is worth it, is worth defending. I would ask you on this Memorial Day to push back, even just for a minute, from your grill, from the madness of this COVID, and think about those who did defend, who did leave the last measure out there, who didn't come back in defense of places like Cohasset, in defense of the ideas that we grew up with, in defense of the United States. Think of them. Think of what Memorial Day means, because it's all about those memories, and it's about those people who weren't afraid to step up and defend. Major General Chris Mahoney, proud native son of Cohasset. Have a great, enjoyable Memorial Day.
Good afternoon. We're going to begin this afternoon's program. I'd like to welcome you, few who are here, as opposed to the amassed crowds we've had in the past. And it's my privilege to introduce Commander Steve Wigmore.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here to the Veterans Memorial in this observance of 2020 Memorial Day. I'm a little bit disappointed, but what can we do? With this virus that we have in this country right now, we're going to do our best to honor those who gave the supreme sacrifice for all our wars. Right now, I would like to introduce Rick Hines, commander of the VFW.
Good afternoon. Welcome to our ceremony this year from the Ralph Perencello Cohasset VFW post. Just a couple of quick words here. Many of us veterans were in the Vietnam War, as I was. Whether you enlisted or were drafted, we all knew military service could result in our death. Each Memorial Day, we take time to remember our departed brothers and sisters. In the 10 years of the Vietnam War, over 58,000 Americans were killed. I don't think our government was any more truthful then than today's. Today, our enemy is COVID-19. We didn't enlist or drafted or otherwise sign up for this to fight this virus. It's expected that in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll lose more than twice as many people as we lost in Vietnam. Vietnam was 10 years, and in 4 months we'll have lost 120,000. We have no cannon, we have no bombers, we have no weaponry to use. All we have for defense is to stay home, wear a mask, wash your hands, and stay alive.
And now representing the Sons of the American Legion, Edmund Cunningham.
Thank you, Commander. My name is Edmund Karam. I am the newly elected commander of the Sons, and Squadron 118 is honored and proud to be involved in this Memorial Day ceremony. And the healing field that we put together yesterday is a profound tribute to the men and women who lost their lives to protect our values and freedoms. Mention of the field isn't really appropriate unless we mention Tommy Wigmore, who was the inspiration behind the field and the originator of the field. And he worked tirelessly for this community. And a lot of us put that field together in his memory yesterday.
How you doing? Doing great. Appreciate what you guys are doing.
Oh, appreciate your service.
First flag.
First flag.
Yeah.
Tommy unfortunately passed away in 2015 on July 4th, and he shares that distinction with both Thomas Jefferson and John Quincy Adams, who both passed away on July 4th, and I think it's appropriate because they're all patriots. I'd also like to offer special thanks to Veteran Service Officer Phil Mahoney. It was really his article, Don't Give Up the Ship, in the Mariner that inspired the Sons to go ahead with this in these uncertain times. Phil does so much for the veterans and the community and supports the Sons. He's a tremendous asset to the town, and we're just thankful to be able to work with him. I encourage everybody to get a chance to read that article, Don't Give Up the Ship. It's in the brochure. I have a few in my pocket if you'd like one, or read the Mariner article. It's really inspirational. And it gives some history about Cohasset. Actually, the captain who uttered those famous words was killed in a battle off the coast of Cohasset in 1813 in the War of 1812. And as he lay dying, he said, "Don't give up the ship." And I think that's a good motto for the complete town of Cohasset to follow in these difficult times. The Sons would also like to thank the town manager and the Board of Selectmen, especially Kevin McCarthy and Dr. Schubert, for allowing this to go through. I know they have a responsibility to the town for our welfare and our health, and thank you so much for allowing us to give this tribute to the community. Also, the Sons would like to thank the auxiliary. We work very well with them, and it's a pleasure to have them collaborate on a number of different projects in the community. It's a great working relationship. And certainly all the volunteers who came yesterday and completed the field. We completed it in a record time, and it was truly a pleasure. And anybody who has not gone through the field and taken a look at some of the labels and all the dedications, it's a profound experience. And I encourage you all at some quiet moment to walk through the field. It's really a moving experience. I'm going to close here with Calvin Coolidge. He was coincidentally born on July 4th as well. He's a former governor of Massachusetts, and he was our 30th president of the United States. He he has a quote here about flags, and it really resonated with me, and I think it'll resonate with all you, and it'll kind of give a perspective as to the meaning of the healing field. President Coolidge said, "We identify the flag with almost everything we hold dear on earth: peace, security, liberty, our family, our friends, our home. But when we look at our flag and behold it emblazoned with all our rights, we must remember that it is equally a symbol of our duties. Every glory we associate with it is a result of duty done." I think Wiggy would be proud looking down today, and I think we're safe to say that duty has been done. May God bless America, and may God bless all those who served and came home, and especially those who served and did not come home. Thank you.
And now representing the Ladies Auxiliary, Chris McCormick.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Chrissy Sladen McCormick. I am here on behalf of the Women's Auxiliary and for Brenda Douglas, who could not be here today. I too want to thank everyone that came out yesterday and helped. It takes a village, we all know this, and they came in short order. Just to give you a little background of myself, the reason why I am here personally is because my maiden name is Sladen, and my father was a veteran in the Navy. My father has since passed, but this was all very important to him, and I grew up doing just this, representing veterans, helping veterans however we could. When my father was ill, the veterans helped him immensely, and I forever, ever am grateful. I did say upon my father's passing that if one day I could give back to any organization, it would be the Veterans Organization. That is why I'm here. That is my mission. It's in line with the mission of the veterans, the Sons, the Auxiliary. So I am deeply honored to be here in memory of my father and thank every veteran, past, present, future, for what they've done for our country. And thank the town and all the volunteers that were here yesterday, and specifically want to thank a few people who couldn't be here but still continue to help at the drop of a dime, which is Jill, Britt, and John Covell. Thank you very much.
Now to represent the town of Cohasset, Kevin McCarthy, Chairman of the Board.
The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a proclamation. Whereas while the nation was still recovering from the horrors of the Civil War, people in cities and towns across the country gathered to honor those Union and Confederate soldiers who had given their lives celebrating the first Decoration Day. And whereas after World War I, the nation came together again to honor those who had fallen in the service of their country, renamed Memorial Day, the last Monday in May, when people remember and honor the memory of all the men and women who fought and died in all American wars and conflicts. And whereas throughout our country's history, thousands of Massachusetts citizens have fought in wars and conflicts to defend our safety and way of life, and whereas their legacy of patriotism and dedication to country is an inspiration to all Americans, and whereas it is appropriate for all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who gave their lives so that their sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Now, therefore, the governor
of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Governor Baker, do hereby proclaims May 25th, 2020, Memorial Day.
Thank you, Kevin. And now, Maureen Fiore, representing the Legion Riders.
I would like to thank everybody for being here today. It's a very special day, which we weren't sure was even going to happen. The Legion Riders were a group that Wiggy wanted to do for many years. Unfortunately, it was the year after he passed that we became a group. We've done a lot of things for the veterans at the VA hospital. We've done a lot of fundraising for the Legacy Fund, and I'm not sure if anybody really knows what the Legacy Fund is. It's a fund for children of fallen soldiers, and it pays for 4 years of their college. The last year or so, they've actually added any veteran who has a child that's 50%, the veteran is 50% disabled or more, that child is also covered under the 4-year scholarship. So far, I think we've raised about a little over $3,000 for that fund. I'd like to thank you all for your support, and if we can keep getting your support, that's more money we send to the fund. Thank you.
And now for the invocation from St. Anthony's Parish, Father Scott Everard.
Let us pray. Father of mercies and God of all consolation, we give you thanks and praise for our ability to gather here today. And though we have not been able to invite the public as we typically would, we ask that you send your blessing upon our gathering here today and extend it far and wide to include all those who will participate by watching this online or on local cable access. We ask you to bless us as we honor our deceased brothers and sisters, those who have served our country in the military. We ask that you bless us by inspiring us by their bravery, courage, selflessness, and resiliency, that we too might be brave, courageous, resilient, and selfless in facing our current challenges. We pray for our great nation, you extend your blessing to her, that we might always work for the justice that will lead to true and lasting peace. And we ask all of this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
It's my privilege to introduce Richard Spencer Churchill, Dickie. Dickie was born in Quincy, raised in Cohasset, went through its schools, and graduated Thayer Academy in 1966. He went on to receive an associate degree in criminal justice from Western New England College. He entered the United States Army on 12 February 1967 and trained as a radio operator at Fort Dix, New Jersey. He received orders and went to Vietnam in February of 1968 and was assigned to Headquarters 2nd Battalion, 7th Cavalry, 1st Cavalry Division. In May of that year, he was then assigned as Chief Radio Operator, Echo Company, Reconnaissance Platoon. While assigned there, he participated in Operation Pegasus, relief of combat base Khe Sanh, and Operation Delaware, A Shau Valley. Dickie was then assigned to the 25th Signal Battalion, Ludwigsburg, Germany in 1969. And then in April 1970, he was assigned to Military Assistance Command Vietnam, MACV, Team 44, Dia Dien Providence, an advisor to the popular forces and the regional forces in that district. He was discharged from the Army in November 1970. However, his military service did not end there. He enlisted in the United States Marine Corps Reserve at South Weymouth Naval Air Station in October of 1976 and assigned to Marine Wings Support Squadron 472. In January 1991, he was activated for Operation Desert Storm and assigned to Marine Corps Air Station at Cherry Point, North Carolina as the NCOIC Operations Section. Gunnery Sergeant Churchill retired from the United States Marine Corps in October 1993. His decorations and awards include Bronze Star, Army Commendation Medal with V for Valor, Air Medal, Presidential Unit Citation, and the Combat Action Ribbon. He served as a Cohasset police officer from 1972 until 1979, and then as a Quincy police officer from 1979 through 2003, from which he retired. He and his wife, Christine Hoban Churchill, have 3 children, Robert, Sarah, and Richard. It's my privilege to have Vicki step up.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I would like to thank Commander Steve Wigmore of the Mealy American Legion Post and Rich Hines of the Parencello VFW Post for the honor of speaking at this most unusual Memorial Day observance. Also, I'd like to extend my thanks to the Cohasset's Veteran Service Officer, Phil Mahoney. My gratitude extends to the Cohasset Board of Selectmen, who since I was a child have ensured that the honoring of Memorial Day would continue to be a very special observance. This being the 250th birthday of Cohasset, this letter of appreciation was sent out to all the men and women serving in Cohasset during World War II. In behalf of the townspeople, allow us to congratulate each of our citizens serving in the armed forces of the United States. Your town is proud of you. The glories and the knowledge of that your efforts are another example of true democracy, and that through your efforts, victory and world peace will be attained. Let us assure you that in your absence, the folks at home are making every effort to assist you in the present task, and that the town of Cohasset will build toward the kind of future, an American future, you will want when you come back. A. Fred Peterson, Darius W. Gilbert, Everett W. Wheelwright, Board of Selectmen. As you can see, this deep appreciation of our servicemen and women spans generations of this town's history. I grew up in this environment. I believe it to be kind of unique. The Veterans Project, a location that allowed returning veterans to purchase home sites for a very reasonable price, start their lives all over again. All the kids had friends their own age. There were the Flints and the Selfs and the Stantons and the Calderwoods and the Aherns, the McCarthys, O'Briens, and so many more. We all knew our dads had participated in the war, but knew little of their involvement. It wasn't until after my dad's passing in 1987 that I found out some of his World War II experiences. He was a member of the 8th Tank Battalion of the 4th Armored Division. Dad was in the lead as Patton marched towards Paris. On a visit to see my mom in the summer after Dad had died, I saw a crate with a marble headstone in it, with an inscription in French. So I asked my mom, I said, what's the story? What's in the crate? Oh, she said, your father was in a unit that saved a village in France called Roine. I have a letter here that Dad had sent home from Charlie Stegmeyer, detailing the fight, and it's only the way my father would say something like this. He said, just a small excerpt from the letter. In a town about the size of Cohasset, he said, the raving Hun had blown up a building, a local cafe, in retaliation of activities for the underground. The next day, Germans promised to return, kill the mayor and plus 40 other individuals. Fortunately, our outfit arrived in the worried village about the time the Germans had hit the other side of the same place. In the ensuing fracas, the usual armor punishment was dealt the enemy, but unfortunately 2 of our infantrymen were fatally wounded. Their khaki bodies were brought into a local courtyard waiting for evacuation. But apparently that didn't happen, so they were temporarily buried in the local cemetery, along with 8 Air Force members of the Army Air Force who had the French had taken and placed in their own local cemetery, putting flowers there every day. I was not surprised that I heard of this account, nor of my dad's actions, but I was somewhat surprised of the French town's expression of respect in sending the headstone. As you can see, my dad talked about his relationship with the town of Cohasset, and with that I can truly relate. I arrived in Vietnam on the 3rd of February 1968, 3 days after the infamous Tet Offensive had started. I said, "Dickie, this is not good." I was assigned to the headquarters company of the 2nd Battalion, 7th Cavalry of the 1st Cavalry Division. We were soon sent north to assist the Marines in the Battle of Way City. Soon after that, we were on the move again and relieved the Marines at Quai Son. The days seemed endless as we pushed towards Quai Son, taking heavy casualties daily, constant shelling, nights with little or no sleep. We were able to finally find our way into Quai Son. During all this, a young man newly arrived. It was a harrowing experience. The 1st Cav continued next into the Oshaw Valley, and in the fall of 1968, the entire division was sent to an area northwest of Saigon, where there had been a reported of a buildup of North Vietnamese in preparation for another offensive. By this time, I had been reassigned to the reconnaissance platoon of Echo Company of the 2nd of the 7th. This area of Vietnam was totally different from our previous location, with double and triple canopy of trees. The sun sometimes couldn't be seen. At night, we set up our defensive positions. The darkness was so intense. There were times I would escape back to Cohasset, back to a place I found comfort, a place to come home to. Many of my fellow Vietnam veterans were treated poorly upon their return. Their experience is well documented. I, on the other hand, returned to a place that offered to me and others, "Hey, good job, you're home." We paid such a heavy price here in Cohasset with our involvement. Alan, John, Eddie, Dennis, Craig, Peter, Billy, and Peter. My dad never asked me, never inquired about my tour. Maybe he saw the look in my eyes when I had shrunk to about 137 pounds. He had seen the same horrors I had seen, and I think he didn't want to remember either. 50 years ago, I returned to Vietnam as an advisor with the Military Assistance Command in Gia Dinh Province surrounding Saigon. I met with and worked with some incredible Vietnamese and wonder to this day how or if they survived. As a Vietnam veteran, they've always been proud of my service. Our treatment by our government and the media in the ensuing years at times tarnished the superb job these veterans did and the sacrifices they endured. But as a result of our treatment, those who served in later conflicts were treated in a manner suited to their difficult experiences, as it should be. 1976, I joined the United States Marine Corps Reserve. Again, I took my oath to serve and defend the Constitution of the United States. Why do you ask? The reasons were many. It gave me a sense of purpose, that my service to my country needed to continue. It's really kind of difficult to explain, but it's one of the best decisions, except, of course, asking a certain dark-haired beauty from Scituate to marry me. I'd like to take this opportunity in my talk to dedicate this to my sister, Joanne Churchill Maitland. As a parent, she endured the most horrific event. A pair of kin, the death of her child, Richard Buckingham Huggle III, who was killed in an accident while on active duty in the Army at Fort Hood, Texas. Joe later learned of an organization that was dedicated to mothers enduring similar losses, the Gold Stars Mothers Association. When inquiring about membership, she was informed the criteria was that the child had to die in a combat situation. Joanne argued that the manner in which the service member dies should not be a determining factor. The loss is equally tragic. Today, Joanne is a member of the Gold Star Mothers Executive Board and is also their National Service Officer. Joanne has taken a tragedy of the greatest magnitude and has triumphed. The road for me these past 50 years has had some rough spots. I've always been an individual who saw a glass half full, which has helped. Survivor's guilt and remember the unforgettable has at times made life difficult. But by God's grace, I've had the love and support of a woman for the past 45 years, my wife Christine. I know I would not be standing here today without her. To my children, Rob, Sarah, Richard, you have been a treasure, and I'm so proud of each of you as you move through life. In closing, I would be remiss if I did not reach out to my fellow veterans today and say to them who may be enduring bad times, there's a better way than taking your own life. Today, 21 veterans will take this path. This is a national disgrace. It must be stopped. So I say to my brothers and sisters, please, before you make this decision, there's help for you. There's love for you. And there's a different course for you to please take it. Again, my thanks. I hope I have brought to these observances my message that this small New England town holds a special place in my heart, which I will always call my home. Semper Fidelis.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
And now it is my duty to read the names of the veterans who have gone before us since we met here last year. John C. Casey, Joseph S. Catrabone, James P. Sofrino, Edmund B. Clay Sr., Richard F. DeLuma, George S. Coppett Jr., John Barrett, Leo J. Fiore Sr., William Colgan, William E. Kelly, Kevin McArdle, Terrence A. McCarthy, James Nagel, William Polito, Gilbert Ribello, Carlton Robinson, Richard A. Sylvia, Edward F. White, Michael J. Zappolo. May we have a moment of silence for these gentlemen, please. Thank you. Billy, would you say?
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved and set me free. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, with no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
And now each and every Memorial Day, we call up Major Joe Hamilton to read the Flanders Field.
A blessed and fulfilling Memorial Day to all of you. Today is a solemn occasion where veterans and members of our armed forces gather here. I ask you all to take a moment to acknowledge our fallen brothers and sisters. It is fitting we do this with our admiration and gratitude. In Flanders Fields, the reference to the torch beheld and carried is represented here at this moment. Some of us veterans standing here have marched with those of World War I. That spans over a century. In 1915, during the Great War, the war to end all wars, World War I, Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae of the Royal Canadian Army wrote these words, about which he ultimately died himself. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard among the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
Firing squad, police thrown out departed comrades. As the flag is put to full mast, Holy Sister will sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly gleaming, and the rocket's red glare, my bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
brave? I thank you all today for coming out, especially to those who participated in this ceremony. And to all the veterans out there, to all the townspeople, take care of yourselves in this crisis, and hope next year we see you all here safe and sound. Oh, one other thing I'm sorry about, there's no hoodsies.